Sometimes I just want to rattle people and shake them and just be like, hey, take responsibility for your life. Just, I guess welcome to another episode of In the Driver's Seat. Might as well talk about responsibility. That's a hot button topic for me today. Responsibility. According to Stephen Covey, it is the ability to choose your own response. I would agree with that. Absolutely. You can choose. Choice. Responsibility. If you haven't read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is one of Stephen Covey's books, I highly recommend it. I've probably listened to the audiobook 25, 30 times. And I get something new out of it every single time. So kudos to you, Mr. Covey. Responsibility. Why are people not more responsible? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me when I run across people who, for the dumbest shit, just throw caution to the wind and their life is just one perpetual shitstorm after another. And they're usually the people that whine the most about it, right? And then they try to hold other people accountable for their terrible life that they're leading. Well, how about you take responsibility for the life that you have, right? I don't get it. I hastily put some cheat notes again together here for this old brain of mine, just because I want to make sure there's a couple of pieces that I really feel are important to cover here. In The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which is a book by Mark Mason, another book I highly recommend, he pulls apart this concept of responsibility, and he really says that there's a difference between responsibility and fault. A lot of people use that interchangeably. Oh, it was my responsibility. Oh, it was my fault. And that's wrong. They don't understand. They don't understand what that means. There is a maybe subtle but definite distinction between the concept of responsibility and fault, right? If you're in a relationship and your partner cheats on you, is that your fault? Ultimately, no, right? Maybe you guys were fighting, maybe you didn't get along anymore, sure, it takes two to tango, and, everybody could have done something better. But in the end, if your partner cheats on you, it is not your fault. It's as simple as that. However, it is your responsibility of how you're going to deal with that. Right? Therein lies the difference between the two. Between fault and responsibility. And if you're listening to this video, or watching this video, I should say, think about that. Explore that concept. You have to own your own choices. You have to own your own decisions. Good or bad. It doesn't matter. Nobody ever makes perfect decisions. And so you have to go ahead and own them. So just do it. Don't worry about every decision being right. Don't worry about, what if I make the wrong decision? Just make a decision. And if you aren't going to make a decision, guess what? That's a decision too. That's a choice too. So at least then take responsibility for that. God, it's just, this whole topic just got me going today because of a situation we had with a client at the company, and the brutal truth is that we lost that client, and we lost that client because of miscommunication, nothing more. And they misunderstood something we communicated. And then there was silence. There was no communication for over a month. And while it's not my fault that they misunderstood, I have to take responsibility for the fact that there was no communication for a month, and I could have picked up the phone, or one of the team could have picked up the phone and contacted that client and said, hey, what's going on? And that sucks, and it irks me. I should have known better. We as a company should have known better and take responsibility for that. So that was one of the big driving forces behind me actually doing this video today. We should have taken responsibility earlier. And you know something? That client would probably still be our client to this day. Sucks. It was a good client. Taking responsibility means you are acting on your own behalf. And I'm not going to take credit for that. That was Mark Mason from The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. But it's true, because when you do that, and now here goes off my other phone. Every moment is a choice. And if you don't choose, if you neglect to choose, if you push things off, those are all choices. Every single one of them. So as hard as it sounds, as tough as it sounds, to be so self-critical, but the fact that we didn't reach out to that client for an entire month, I think it was even more than that, month and a half, that was a choice. Maybe it wasn't a conscious choice, but that was a choice, and that was bad. And I have to take responsibility for that. And so, in the end, all of it just boils down to the fact that if you choose, especially if you choose to be responsible, that will give you a sense of freedom, because you're owning your choices, right? If you say, okay, I'm responsible for this, therefore I own that decision, even though that decision may suck, you're still saying it's my decision. And when you own something like that, that gives you freedom. And to all the people out there that disagree with this, I'm going to tell you that if you do nothing but blame others and you never take responsibility really for anything, then you're missing out on one of the greatest gifts of life, and that is to be able to live life on your own terms. Think about that.